Hello, my name is Nicholas Staddon.
And I'm Suzie Wiest.
Welcome to our 10th annual Horticultural Encounter,
where our theme this year is Growing Plants for Life.
This is the piece we love. We get to talk to you about plants. Our job is to inspire you, matter not whether you're a landscape architect, designer, contractor, a nursery person, or a gardener. What do you like about it, Suzie?
Well, I love learning about a lot of the exciting new plants, but also just working with the people who love them.
Terrific. So let's get started and show you some great plants.
Welcome to Perennially Wild. Have you ever noticed when you're walking through a woodland, a meadow, or an open field that typically it's made up of grasses and perennials? I'll bet you also do not see a lot of open or bare ground because in nature, these plants, they live closely together to sustain each other. Even their roots knit the soil together, providing that cool cover that conserves water. By pairing certain grasses and perennials, we can create that same relationship in our own gardens and landscapes and do it beautifully. So let's take a look at a few possibilities. Here we have Bouteloua Gracilis Blonde Ambition. This is a warm season grass. It was discovered in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It has larger flowers that age to blonde rather than purple, as does the regular species. It's very heat, drought, and cold tolerant. The only thing it doesn't prefer is high humidity. So I would just stay away from planting it in some maybe the southern states where it gets very humid during the summer, especially at night. It does not like that. The flowers just kind of hover above the plant. This grows to about 2 to 3 feet tall. It loves good air circulation, so I would plant it no closer than 3.5 feet on center, and what that gives you is air movement between the plant. Really helps, and it also looks nice the way the flowers will just kind of sway in the breeze like little flags cheering you on. It pairs very well with this salvia right here. This is a compact salvia. It's called Salvia Vibe Ignition Fuchsia. The plant gets covered in these hot fuchsia flowers, and this also is hardy down to 15 degrees, so it's a very tough little salvia. Right here in front, this is another very popular grass. This is Muhlenbergia capillaris. This plant is known for its fall bloom. In the fall, it produces these really pink, open, airy plumes that hover above the plant, and this is a plant that looks absolutely gorgeous when it is backlit by the sun. It just makes those plumes just, I don't know, shimmer. So this one, I suggest pairing with Lantana Super Purple. Super Purple, this was discovered by our own propagator, Larry Weisel, and it has all of the same wonderful characteristics of Lantana Celoiana lavender, which is year-round bloom. It's very versatile. You can use it as a ground cover or in a hanging basket or cascading over a retaining wall. It's very, very tough and drought tolerant. The deer leave this plant alone. But what this plant has is a much more vibrant purple. And that's what Larry noticed, and he propagated it for a few years, made sure that it was stable, and we patented it and called it Super Purple. It's a very, very beautiful plant. One of the most adaptable and tough plants is Achillea millefolium. This plant is so tough that they used it for lawn replacement because you can mow it over. What I love about it are the flat flower clusters that hover above this fine fern-like foliage. It's really dark green, and this plant will grow in just a wide range of soils. Super, super tough. The butterflies, they love landing on these little flat flower clusters, and this is a great segue to plants that sustain wildlife. Here we have Buddleia Buzz Hot Raspberry. As you can tell, it's named Hot Raspberry because the colors are just so warm and vibrant. That's what I love most about this plant, but it also only grows to about 3 to 4 feet. So it's the size that will fit in most gardens. This plant is also loved by butterflies because of the landing space that it has. And these large spikes are made up of just a bunch of small flower clusters that they can sit and feast on. We because this is a beautifully fragrant flower, we can use it as cut flowers and just put it in vases and enjoy it in our home. So now to a hummingbird plant. This is a hummingbird magnet. This is Salvia bodacious rhythm and blues. This is a Garanitica. This is superior to all others. If you look at the foliage, it's a darker green and it stays nice and tight. It has a much denser habit. It grows 4 to 5 feet tall, and this plant, all it wants to do is bloom. From the beginning of spring all the way to the first frost, this thing will bloom like crazy. To give it more branching and more blooms at the end of winter, just give it a light shear, maybe down to 1/3, or take off 1/3 of the plant, and you'll have a bloomer all summer long. Next to me, this is a beautiful burgundy, very similar to forest pansy. This one is called Merlot, and this one has Texas redbud in its genes. And what that gives it, it's much more drought tolerant, heat tolerant. The leaves are glossier and they hold up to that summer sun much more. It adds dramatic contrast and color in the garden, and at only 15 to 20 feet, it's perfect for our smaller urban gardens and patios. I just love that burgundy color. In the spring, before the leaves emerge, you have these pink flowers that cover the branches, and the hummingbirds love those as well. And finally, we have Quercus agrifolia, the coast live oak. Oaks are habitat powerhouses. They harbor insects and caterpillars that the birds love to eat, acorns for the squirrels, and their structure, they're so strong, they provide a lot of shelter. So let's kick this over to Nicholas at Nurtured by Nature.
Susie, thank you. This particular display is called Nurtured by Nature, which is another term for us for horticultural therapy. So let me set the stage for you. Therapy gardens can be in institutions, hospitals, wellness centers, wherever it might be. Horticultural therapy gardens can also be in your garden. They can be on your patio. They can be the size of a shoebox, and they can be 1 or 2 acres in size. And it's really all about the plants that you use and the region you live in. So as we walk through the display, I'm not really going to talk about plants in great detail. So I'm just going to touch on various plants and where I think they fit. You will see through all the display lots of roses. And I think roses are key in a therapy garden. And the reason is they're very colorful. They come in all different sorts of shapes and sizes and heights. Some roses are not fragrant. Some roses are very fragrant. And so those are the plants that you would harvest and you would bring indoors and from your cutting garden. So let's get going. So my first plant is a mandevilla. Mandevillas have hit the stage like an absolute racehorse. New Diplodemia varieties, highly disease resistant. This one is called Medina White. They come in whites, they come in pinks, they come in reds. You'll notice we grow the plants on bamboo stakes. There is a symbiotic relationship between bamboo and plants. Plants are more foliferous, that means more flowers. They're greener, they live longer, they're just overall much more healthy. So we grow lots of different varieties. My favorite is from the Bella series called Compact Red. It's an absolute whiz-banger of a plant. Rosemaries. Rosemaries are key whether you're in the colder regions of America or whether you're in the warmer regions. This particular variety is called Tuscan Blue. It's an upright variety. You rub the leaves. Give them the nose. I mean, they're terrific. They have these really pretty flowers, which can go from light blue, kind of powder blue, to a dark blue. Very, very cool. Hydrangeas. This particular variety is from the Endless Summer program and is called Summer Crush. Very, little bit more compact than a lot of hydrangeas. As you can see, very foliferous. And the great thing about it, it's a repeat bloomer. So you can go in and you can harvest the flowers, and during the growing season, probably about 20 to 25 days, you'll have lots of new color. You have people come over, okay, you can harvest them a bouquet of hydrangeas to take home with them. They're just brilliant. A slightly whimsical plant, okay? We are not using enough junipers in our landscapes. They come in all sorts of textures. Okay, this one is called Blue Point, has really soft foliage. It's actually a spiral. We've let this one grow out a little bit, probably needs a haircut, but I think it makes a really cool statement in containers or in the ground. Fantastic. Daphne, eternal fragrance. These plants are superb. Rounded, compact, early spring fragrance that's more of a lemon scent. And then if you really want something dramatic in the garden, look, there's my hand. Look at the size of the foliage. This is Fatsia japonica. For those of you in the colder regions, it's going to be an annual, so bring it indoors, right, in the garage. For those of you in the warmer regions, it's in the ground. Fabulous. I mean, it makes your heart go pitter-patter. It's the type of plant people stop and go, that is incredible. What's the name of that plant? Star jasmine. Star jasmine, for the tropical garden, is going to be in ground. If you live up in Minneapolis, it's a great summertime annual. Again, winter it over in the garage. The fragrance is fantastic. Plant the plant in a container or in ground where you stop, where you sit, so you can become completely seduced by the flowers and the great jasmine fragrance. And for the colder regions of America, a 9-bark. This particular variety is called sweet cherry tea. When 9-barks, which actually are an American native, when they hit the market in America, the first one was called Diabolo. Large growing plant, 10 to 12 feet high, but it was absolutely magnificent. So this is a smaller, more compact variety. The foliage, followed by these wonderful bouquets of pinkish whitish flowers that turn to blue-black berries, which are great for the wildlife, for the birds that come to the garden. You need to have these fruit-producing plants in there to attract them. So that's it. Nurtured by nature, your horticultural therapy garden for you, your friends, and your family. Plants for your picnic. Today I'm in a unique position. Normally we present standing up, but I am sitting down and I'm in this great picnic setting and all these plants behind me you can eat. When you're on a picnic, right, you take your apples, your blueberries, your peaches, whatever it is, and you enjoy the fruit when you're out there. So everything here is just terrific. We're going to start with strawberries. This plant is called Seascape. A lot of plants were developed by the University of California, strawberries particularly, and they have names. Seascape is a town on the coast of the west coast of California. There's another great one called San Andreas after the fault we have. These are great varieties. They're ever-bearing. So they start pushing their flowers and fruit in the late spring, early summer, and they're going to go right the way through till probably like November, something like that. This is black satin rubus, which is a blackberry, staked up on a bamboo wigwam or in a tomato cage. The plant can get about 4 to 6 feet high. Important to note, has these great pink flowers in the early spring, and wherever there's a flower, it's going to be followed by this really tasty fruit. This plant blooms on second-year wood. So this particular branch here has come up this year, and that's going to be where your fruit is next year. This branch here with the flowers on, that was produced last year. So don't cut this year's wood off. Behind me, we have Hass, the most famous of all the avocados. When you go into your grocery store to buy your groceries, this is what you're going to buy. This is unique. It's a self-pollinating avocado. It has male and female flowers. It's a big plant in the warmer regions, so give the plant room. Pomegranates. I love pomegranate. This is the mainstay of the pomegranate industry in America, called Wonderful. Ripens around September, something like that. You can use the pomegranate seeds as garnish. If you come to my house, I'll make you a pomegranate martini. Figs behind me. This is a really cool variety called Desert King. Desert King is a large green fruit, and when you open it up inside, it's kind of a pink reddish type flower. And then you have these are dwarf pomegranates, Punica granatum nana. And these dwarf pomegranates probably only get about sort of 3 to 4 feet high, and they're about the same wide. They have small pomegranates, right, which are full of seeds, so they're not really edible, but they're more of an ornamental, fantastic for a container or something closer to the house. Babcock peach. Peaches are cool. This is a self-pollinating variety. And then moving to the right, we have persimmons. This one is called Fuyu, and persimmons are great. Now you might look at these plants and say, gosh, you know, they don't look like much. These are very young plants, but what is unique about them is they have this great branching structure. They don't get very big. They fit in most any type garden. Blueberries. Blueberries have absolutely taken the market by storm, and the brand I love is called Bushel and Berry. We have our own brand called Sweet Select, which is absolutely terrific as well. These blueberries and the ones that we grow have changed what goes on in fruit gardening. People are now using blueberries as ornamentals. They just used to be in the fruit garden. So now you've got a plant that looks good, whether you live in San Diego or you live up in Minneapolis. There's all different varieties for all different types of regions. You've got great foliage, you've got lots of different colored fruit. It's very versatile. And then over on my left, a plant that is named after me. This is a blackberry, and the name of that plant is Baby Cakes, which is what my wife calls me. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything I say. This is a unique plant. The fruit is oblong. It's probably about that big. Very sweet. It's a thornless variety. Gets to be about 3 to 3.5 feet high. And then moving on, this is a raspberry called Raspberry Shortcake. Very mounding, great for a container. And again, no thorns. This is a cold region plant. You really can't use this plant well in the warmer regions. It needs good winter chill to set the fruit. And my last plant, this is called a Fioa. A common name can be strawberry guava, and they've just changed the name in the botanical library to Aca. This is the normal Celeriana, and it will get somewhere to be 15 to 20 feet high and probably about 15 feet across. It's a huge plant. Some of them have a fruit, some of them don't. They have a large flower, a whitish, reddish flower that you can eat as a garnish on your salads. This is the brand new variety from the Sunset Program and the Southern Living Program called Bambina. This particular plant will only get about 4 to 5 feet high, very rounded, very compact, this super gray-green foliage, and this unique colored flower, which we're showing the camera here, which is really all red, has a little bit of fragrance to it. As yet, we've not seen the plant fruit, but we're ever hopeful. But look for this one, it's terrific. In the colder regions, it's going to be a container plant. Bring it indoors. In the warmer regions, it's going to be in ground. So that's it. Plants for your picnic.
The Sunset and Southern Living Plant Collection's plants are thoughtfully selected for their regions. Sunset in the 14 western states, and Southern Living in Texas, across to the southeast and on up the eastern seaboard. Each has one or more distinguishing characteristics that set it apart from the rest, such as longer bloom time, easy care, drought tolerance, disease resistance, compact habit, and year-round interest. One of the newest series that they have is an agapanthus, and I tell you, I'm really excited about this series. It's the Agapanthus Ever series, and it comes in multiple colors. This one happens to be amethyst, but they all bloom really early. So typically, agapanthus, they bloom in the summer. But when I was out in the nursery, I saw a whole field of amethyst in March, and then they re-bloom. The other great thing about this series is they have very sturdy stems, and the umbels are very large. The colors are really vibrant. We have amethyst, we have twilight, which is a beautiful bicolor, white, which is an excellent, very floriferous bloomer, sapphire, and midnight. So those are really beautiful agapanthus. Another thing that I've always mentioned to Nicholas is agapanthus, they have a tendency to bring out the best in all of the other plants around them. Adds that height to the garden and extra color. Right behind this one is a new salvia, microphylla. This one's called Killer Cranberry. And the flowers alone, they're just this rich magenta. They bloom spring through fall, but the foliage is really glossy and aromatic. It's only about 2 to 3 feet tall by 2 to 3 feet wide, so it's got a real nice versatile size. You can tuck it in anywhere. And I don't know if you noticed just how good it looks next to Lomander Platinum Beauty. Lomander Platinum Beauty has been a real rock star for us the last few years because the landscape market loves it and the retail. Why? because it's one of those plants that is, I would have to call it a no maintenance plant. If you look closely at the leaves, the tips look like they kind of, they look like they're snipped, but it does that on its own. So it's a self-cleaning plant. It's very drought tolerant and it will grow in any sun exposure. The other thing about Platinum Beauty is its look. It is very luminescent. Lomandras are not grasses, but they look like them. They're really just really tough perennials. They can take whatever you give them. And then right in front is a new Buddleia. This comes from the Butterfly Candy series. This one here is Buddleia, Butterfly Candy, Little Raspberry. We also have Lil Taffy, Lil Grape, and Lil Lavender. What's wonderful about the Butterfly Candy series is these are very compact. They only grow about 2 to 3 feet. So again, they're more versatile. You can move them around in the garden. You can grow them in containers. The other thing is they do not have a seed set, so these are considered non-invasive. That's very important in some states. But just looking at them, they're really yummy colors, and who loves them the most but the butterflies? Moving along, another really big bloomer. This is a plant for hummingbirds. This one is called Kufia Hummingbird's Lunch. Why? These tubular flowers. This also grows only 2 to 3 feet tall. This plant will bloom non-stop, summer through fall, and in the warmer regions, it'll bloom year-round. It looks excellent in a container, as you can see. It likes regular water, which I think that makes it even more of a container plant. But you know what? In some gardens that get regular water, it will do just fine. It's a full sun plant. Hummingbirds love this. I love it because it's absolutely beautiful. And coming around here we have a nice foundation plant. This is called Pittosporum tenuifolium beach ball. And this plant stays naturally round. Doesn't this look like it just got pruned? It's just so, this is just how it grows. So this is also a very low maintenance plant. It grows to about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. So that's why they consider this a foundation plant. And what's a foundation plant? It softens the edge from the building to the ground. And I happen to love the jade green color with the black stems. So naturally round, it also takes very well to pruning. You can turn it into a little bunny rabbit if you want to, but I love that naturally round color. This is Pittosporum beach ball. And another great foundation plant, this is a Nandina called lemon lime. Now there are a lot of Nandinas out there, and I'll tell you why. Because you can grow Nandina pretty much anywhere. They're low maintenance, they're very drought tolerant, but they look very lush. This happens to be, I'm gonna say it, it's sterile. It doesn't produce any berries. And that's actually a very wonderful thing for foliage-wise. The new growth is chartreuse, and then it matures to a deep, deep green. It grows 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. So again, nice intermediate size, easy to work with. When I look at this green, I'm reminded of how well this color looks with burgundy plants. So let's put it up next to a burgundy plant and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is Phormium blackadder. This is one of the most stable Phormium varieties that you can find. It has a rich chocolate color. This one grows 4 to 5 feet tall, and it has kind of a slightly arching leaf that I think is just very elegant. Phormium blackadder is used exclusively by many landscape contractors. Why? Because this one doesn't revert. Again, it's the most stable. But don't those look beautiful together? Phormium blackadder and Nandina lemon lime. Now let's talk about a few succulents. Since we're talking about burgundy, nice segue. This is a Super Simp Onyx sempervivum. Wow, say that 3 times. These get as wide as dinner plates. They're about 8 inches tall. They get about 8 inches wide. And this is hens and chicks. And I just recently found out why they're called that. It's because the little pups or the chicks, it pups out a lot, and this would be the mother hen. But what do we love about this is that gorgeous, gorgeous color. That's why it's called onyx. And in the series, there's also emerald, ruby, and rose quartz. These, you can just tell by looking at them, these are very drought tolerant. One tip for growing them, you need to make sure they're in a very, very, very well-drained soil, and you do not ever want to overwater these, because if you do, they will rot. So don't give it hardly any water. And finally, we have a very exciting new camellia series called the October Magic series. Here we have inspiration. We also grow dawn, crimson and clover, ruby, and orchid. These all have very, very glossy leaves, really very deep dark green. They have dense, vigorous growth, but they're also a little more compact. They're just very floriferous. They bloom October through December, hence the name October Magic. We're very excited about these camellias. And so these are a few of the newer selections of the Sunset and Southern Living plant collections.
Back in 1993, early 1994, Anthony Tesselaar, a young marketer from Australia, brought a group of American nurserymen to a meeting in a secret location in the Midwestern portion of America. These nurseries, who had never worked together before and were in some cases fierce competitors, in collaboration with Anthony, put together the Flower Carpet program. The Flower Carpet program took America by storm. And not only America, programs were launched in Europe, South Africa, Japan, and many other parts of the world as well. Anthony went on to bring Canna Tropicana, the Festival Cordelines, Tuxedo Hydrangeas, Coprosmas, and a fabulous group of magnolias in collaboration with Jury Nursery in New Zealand. So tonight, before you go to sleep, go online and Google Jury Nurseries New Zealand, and it will bring up the most eye-watering collection of magnolias you've ever seen. The big, exciting development is going to be this new group of flower carpet shrub roses. These are absolutely unique. There's a red, which is lipstick. There's this wonderful champagne color, which is called champagne. There's one called berry in the mix. These are like 3 to 4 footers, high disease resistance, just splendid fragrance. They go from a traditional rose type shape to a kind of what I call a flat rose. Great for cuttings and great for your garden as well. So there's lots of exciting things to look at. But let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the 90s and the early 2000s and look at some of the varieties that Anthony brought to market. Have we set the stage? Are you excited? Here we go. All right, so not necessarily in order of year introduction. This is Flower Carpet Coral. Nice shrubby form. It's a single rose. It's self-cleaning. It has this great coral color, which it opens to, bright coral, and then fades to a kind of a soft seashell pink. This is Apple Blossom. Apple Blossom is probably one of the forgotten about flower carpet roses, and I think the plant is an absolute winner. It prefers a dappled shade spot. The plant will get about 2 to 2.5 feet high and about 3 feet across. You know, and when she's blooming, you can't see the plant for the flowers. Just splendid. One of our all-time favorites was the first fragrant flower carpet rose, which was called Amber. When the bud first emerges, it's this great kind of peachy color, and then it fades to this sort of amberish color. Great fragrance, great foliage. It's really prolific in flowers in the early spring. She'll take a bit of a vacation in the summer, and then as soon as the weather cools down, she'll start blooming again. Coprosmas. Coprosmas, the common name is mirror plants, and they're called mirror plants because the foliage is so shiny, you should be able to see your reflection in them. And then there's 2 varieties. There's Coprosma Sunrise and Coprosma Sunset. These are terrific container plants in the colder regions of America, and in the warmer regions they'll be in ground, but they're absolutely splendid. Leave them be in the summer and the growing season. Don't touch them. If you're going to do a little bit of pruning, then do that in the cooler months of the year. And by the way, you're probably saying, what are these stunning blue plants? These are Podocarpus. Blue is the cultivar name, and they actually originated from Kirschenbock's Botanical Garden in South Africa. I had the good fortune of working with a young lady who brought those to market. So we've got, not in order of introduction, we've got Canna tropicana black. Look at that foliage, just delightful. You know, cannas you can plant in a marshy spot, right? They'll just grow great. You can put them in a container. This plant actually is just setting the blooms. The blooms are a London bus red color. This is Canna tropicana gold. What a comparison. And the foliage speaks for itself. Great golden stripes, not yellow. And then it has an orangey yellow flower. And to my left, we have Canna tropicana, which was the original canna in the series, just starting to put a few of these great orange flowers out. You know, people use these in cuts. They'll use the leaves in cuts. They'll use the flowers in their cut flower decorations, everything. Anthony dabbled in hydrangeas, and this he bought 2 or 3 to market. This is one called Tuxedo. Tuxedo is a unique variety. You can see this great green foliage, and when the new leaves emerge, they're a dark to dark purple, and then they have a real nice lipstick pink colored flower. Very foliferous. And then other flower carpet roses. A plant I'm absolutely in love with is mini cherry. Mini cherry I've been working with at home for about 3 years, and the plant is absolutely exemplary. Finally, and I've talked about them, but let's do a close-up now. These are the new flower carpet shrub roses. The colors are exquisite. So for those of you watching who have a business, if you're a landscape architect, designer, you're a nursery person, contractor, Anthony will put a terrific marketing program behind these. So not only yourself will be involved in this, that's to say in your magazines, but your customers will hear about this plant as well. That's been the great success of Anthony's business model, is all the marketing he puts behind it. There you have it, Anthony Tesselaar and his great house of brands. About 30 years ago, one of our legacy companies started shipping tropicals back to the Midwest. They figured out from this location in Fallbrook how to take plants like this and similar to this and ship them back to Milwaukee and Minneapolis in reefed semis. It was a breakthrough. No one had ever done it before. And getting plants in reefed semis, leaving the nursery in this condition and having them arrive almost in the same was fantastic. So, this is called patio tropics. Using tropicals in your garden, in your containers, whether you're in the warmer regions of America or in the colder regions, is part of what we do today. It's gone from a trend to a cultural shift. So for those of you living up in the colder regions, you know when you go into your garden center in the early summertime, you're looking for bougainvilleas, mandevillas, cordylines, all these stunning plants that you have on your patio. So my job in the next 3 or 4 minutes is to talk to you about just some of the plants here. Some of them are new, some of them are old favorites. It's just wonderful. So without any more ado, we've spoken a little bit about mandevillas, and in years gone by, mandevillas had those big green leaves and they never really put on flowers till like mid to late summer. Now these new Diplodemia varieties are terrific. Rich, shiny green leaves, which are bred to have a 45-degree angle so the water runs off them, so they're very disease resistant. Flowers that blow your socks off, that come in whites and pinks and reds and magentas and all sorts of things. And the plants have these great longer blooming seasons now. Many of these varieties are bred to flower in shorter daylight hours. So sort of earlier in the spring and later in the summer, as the nights grow cooler and the days grow shorter, so you get more flowers. So mandevillas, bougainvilleas. Behind every great plant, there's a terrific human interest story. Years and years ago, before any of us were around, the people who were circumnavigating the globe were the English, were the French, and they were the Dutch, right? So the French were great seafarers. And at that time, they wanted to explore South America. And on these old wooden ships, you'd take a cook, a carpenter, You know, a botanist, yours had a botanist, and if you were on a long voyage, you also took an admiral with you, right? They were the person that would command your ship or 2 or 3 ships. So the botanist decided to name his discovery after the Admiral Bougainvillea, and that's where we get the name. This variety is probably one of our most favorite, called Barbara Cast. We grow Barbara Cast as a shrub, as a patio tree, as a wigwam up on a stake, and she's just beautiful. So then moving along, the purple plant is called Elizabeth Agnes. You know, bougainvilleas for the most part are all about passionate colors, you know, purples, reds, magentas, whatever it might be. So Elizabeth Agnes again is a patio tree, a shrub, or on a teepee. You know, you can buy a bush form in your garden center and buy some bamboo stakes and you can train her up yourself. Terrific. Be careful because they have little thorns on them, but they're great. This is an old-time favorite called raspberry ice. Raspberry ice has been around since the year dot. And so I'm not going to try and describe the flower. So the flowers are very similar to this. So you imagine this sage green center with this yellow gold outer with this kind of magenta red flower. Fantastic. This is one of the new mandavillas from Sun Parasols called Apricot, really cool yellow color. And then moving on to cordylines, which I think are splendid plants. Many cordylines come native to the South Island in New Zealand. And so this particular variety is called Paso Doble, right? Kind of fun, comes from the dance series. And then I have to say one of my all-time favorites is Torbay Dazzler. These are single-stemmed cordylines. They'll get quite tall. Torbay Dazzler has a green, a cream, and a slightly kind of purple blush to it. Was a chance discovery in the south of England in a tissue culture laboratory in Torbay. Torbay is a very nice seaside town, so it was called Torbay Dazzler. So don't forget camellias. We put camellias in here because they're wonderful container plants, and they really are quite tropical. In the colder regions of America, they're going to be an annual. So, or you bring them into the garage or a sunroom for the winter time, and then bring them outdoors in the winter. Moving along, we've got, this is Orange King, more of a shrubby variety, has a great orange color to it, festooned with, we don't call them flowers, we actually call them bracts. So these are all bracts on the end here. And then we have to mention tropical hibiscus. This is part of a series that we're very, very close to, which is called the Tradewind series. All the breeding is done in a secret location somewhere in central Florida. And they come in a whole host of colors. The flowers don't come in clusters. The flowers come in bouquets. They're smaller, they're shrubberier. There's a lot more disease resistance in them. And there's this whole host of colors. The other thing that they've done with a lot of their breeding is that the petals cross over each other, so they support each other. Used to be where the flowers just last for a day, but now you'll get them lasting for 2 or 3 days. My favorite is one which is the color of an orange called Mandarin Wind. Oh, love it, just love it. Years and years ago, I used to work on ships and would spend the winters in the Caribbean, so this is pretty close to my heart. And then my last plant probably is my favorite bougainvillea. Even, you know, we've had some great ones we've looked at, but it's called Imperial Thai Delight. Imperial Thai Delight has creams, whites, soft pinks, and lipstick pinks, all on the same bract. It's a nice voracious grower, grows beautifully on a teepee. What can I say? Patio tropics. So there you have it, some really cool plants. We realize your time is precious, so thank you so much for joining us. Suzie, how about you?
Yes, thank you for joining us, and feel free to reach out to us anytime because we love to talk about growing plants for life.